Hey guys, it's Nikki with Simply Home by Nikki. If you're returning, welcome back. If you're new, welcome. And I'd love for you to introduce yourselves down in the comments. Today I'm going to be working on a fall banner. And what I think I'm going to do is string everything on this jute twine. I think I'm going to use these fabric pieces that I got from Walmart. They come in a big circle, and there's 5 different patterns all coordinating. They had fall, they had Halloween. I'm using the fall one. I don't know really what they're meant for unless it's just meant for scraps to craft with. I'm not exactly sure. But so I think I'm going to be like using these to tie into just knots that hang down. I'm going to be using these pumpkins from Dollar Tree. There's 5 of them in here. I'm going to create kind of a orange stain look, a real watered down wash on them. And then I think I'm going to string everything on here. So that's my intention. Let's get going and see how it turns out. All right, so putting the fabric aside, I'm going to take out the pumpkins, and I think I will do both sides of the pumpkins. Not that you would see the back, but I think it'll just make it look more finished. Okay, this is where I had to switch to voiceover. I had tried and tried to get the right color of orange that matched the fabric, and basically I didn't have the right colors. I first of all didn't have an orange acrylic paint, and second of all, the only yellow I had was like a buttery yellow, and I think it was just too soft of a yellow to make the bright colored orange. So you can see I'm mixing in the red and yellow together, then I'm going to add some more red, then I'm going to add some more yellow, then I'm going to add some more red, and basically just keep adding and adding until I think that I've got the color that's going to work best. It really did not match the fabric at all. You can see me pulling the fabric over, and I just really wasn't happy with it. But because I had painted the first one, I thought I would go ahead and just paint them all. That way, if I went over the top of them all, they'd actually have a consistent color. So now I'm going to try and do a gray wash. I'm going to use water, and I'm just going to put a little bit of black and a little bit of a really light gray in it. And I'm going to do like a watered down wash on the back side of the pumpkins. And I really actually like how this looked. And honestly, if I hadn't messed up on the orange side, I probably would have just kept the gray pumpkins. I think it looked really cute with the fabric, and it was just a really light washed color. So I'm putting it on the back here, and then I'm going to take just the Kleenex that I have there, the tissue, and I'm going to wipe it off, and it's going to give a really pretty whitewashed look or gray washed look, whatever you want to say, and I really like it. The problem with this is as I keep on painting here, I can see that the pumpkins, where I painted the orange on the one side, it kind of spilled over to the second side. So I'm going to use the gray here, and I'm going to paint the pumpkin, but it's not going to cover up the orange splotches that ended up getting onto the back side. And because I wanted to give this bunting a really finished look, I wasn't happy with the gray on one side and that orange on the other side that I didn't care for. So here you can see the gray pumpkins. I'm trying to go back, and you can't really see it on camera, but where I'm dotting right there or dabbing, I'm trying to cover up the orange that spilled over. So in the end, I wasn't happy with it. You can see here now I'm taking the fabric, and because it was too thick to tie on the twine and look nice, I decided to cut it down the middle, and I'm using a pinking shears. If you don't have a pinking shears, I still think you could just use a regular scissors to cut down the middle. I only grabbed the pinking shears because the edges were also pinked, so it just looked consistent. But I think if you just cut straight down the middle, that would be fine also. So I took each strip, and I used half of the roll. So there were 4 of each design, so I took 2 strips of each design and cut it down the middle, and ended up, I could make 2 buntings with one of these circles. So now all of the fabric is cut down the middle, and I'm going to get out the twine, and I'm going to see how long I want the fabric to hang down. So I fold it in half, and that's too long, so I'm going to fold it in half again. And I like that. That's a good length right there. So I'm just going to cut it So I'm getting a lot of use out of the strips of fabric. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna cut all of them to the same size. Oh, before I do that, I'm gonna try one out just to make sure that I like it. And I tie it on here, and I just make sure that the knot is actually in the middle so that both sides of the fabric hang evenly. So I'm adjusting it just a little bit to make sure that there's the same amount of fabric on the top as there is on the bottom. Then I'm gonna kind of fold it over. I'm gonna play with it a little bit to make sure both sides are kind of facing up. And they'll move around when you hang the bunting up, and you can just kind of play around with them. They move real easy, manipulate real easy. So now I'm cutting the rest of the fabric and just making a pile so I can string them all on at once. I really loved the gray check in this fabric, and that's really what sold me with it. I like the truck, I think is super cute too, with the pops of just the orange pumpkins in it. But I really liked the plaid and the gray and white buffalo check the most. So now I just start stringing them on. And I'm not going in a certain order. I'm watching what I'm putting on, and I'm making sure that I'm not putting like two of the same together or near each other, but I'm not really going in a specific pattern. I'm just kind of choosing one and tying it on. And as I'm tying it, like I said, I'm kind of manipulating the fabric a little bit so I get both ends to face, both sides of the fabric to face forward. And I didn't have to do it as I was tying them on, but it was just easier for me to work it while I was doing it. And my bunting here, I should say that this makes a 4-foot bunting really full. If you don't want to do it as full, you could go 6 feet and have a little bit of space between the fabric ties, but my fabric ties don't have any space in between at all. So like I said, that's about a 4-foot section. Okay, so here's what I did with the pumpkins. I brought them into my storage room, and I ended up spray painting the front and the back of them. I had an orange spray paint that was the exact color that I wanted, and it matched the garland perfectly. So I spray painted the front and back kind of lightly. I didn't do a solid coat, but it's kind of uneven and it's too solid for me here. So that's why I took the sandpaper, and I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna sand both sides of the pumpkins. I think I showed that it was an 80 grit sandpaper, or no, maybe 120. It was 120 grit. And I just started kind of doing it lightly, and that wasn't cutting it. I had to scrape pretty hard. So I'm going around the edges just to give that weathered look. I wanted the wood to show through on the edges. And now I'm putting a little more pressure on this one. Yep, I decided that it wasn't enough. I needed to go back in, and I needed to really sand the center of the pumpkin down. So I did that for all of the pumpkins. I really like the way that they turned out. I'm super happy with it. My suggestion would be, if you have the right color paint to do it right the first time, I would do a watered down version of the paint and just put it on there, paint it on, wipe off the excess, and you'll have that orange washed look. I did do the other side. The other side was where it was orange paint and then orange spray paint on top of it, so you could tell it was a little bit brighter. The side that I'm actually stringing is the side that I had the gray on. So the pumpkins come with twine, one for each pumpkin. So I'm going to string that through the hole. And I'm using the twine. I'm keeping it loose because I want to hang them on the garland loosely. I don't want them tight up to the string. So I'm going to take the banner that's all finished and I'm going to find the true middle of it. So I have it there. I created a little bit of room and I'm tying it on, and I leave about 1 inch between where the knot is and the pumpkin actually is. So I put 1 in the middle because there's 5, and then I put 2 on each side. And that's it, guys. I think it turned out super adorable. Thank you guys for watching, and if you try it, post a picture on Instagram and tag me in it. I'd love to see how it turned out.